Hi everyone, this is Molly Graves Pryor again with another race analysis video, this time coming from Randall's Island, the finale in the 2022 Spring Series. So I actually should have had another video for you from last week's CRCA Mengoni Race in Central Park, but unfortunately I didn't hit record, even though I thought I did. Just to give you a quick summary, it was about 31 miles, 5 laps. And just going into it, I was actually, and I didn't know it at the time, but I was actually in the beginning stages of getting sick. And, thankfully it's not COVID. Did more than enough tests just to validate whether or not it was COVID or no. But, COVID or not, it laid me out for basically about 5 days. And so, I definitely wasn't at my best in the race. But, I've been hearing quite a few anecdotes from other cyclists that I know, some coworkers, and, now a family member who have all been falling ill. And the story has basically been the same. It leaves them bedridden, just knocked flat on their back from anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks. So, clearly whatever it is that hit me, and I'm still feeling the lingering after effects, it's been making its way around. So anyway, in the Mengoni race, I was basically completely unable to tap into my normal higher end power, and my heart rate was just really elevated. I was struggling to hit even 700 watts, and for those of you who had seen my earlier videos, you know that I can get into the 900s, even on tired legs from racing the day before. So not even being able to get above 700 was like, wow, something's wrong. And just the entire race, I just felt like I was carrying like 20-pound, cement blocks on my legs. So, suffice it to say, I didn't do anywhere close to what I had hoped to have been able to have done, considering that I was coming in completely rested. This is something actually my coach and I have referred to as feeling muddy in the body and in the legs. And, once the race was over, when I got home last Saturday, they just got progressively worse and worse. And then, I basically completely fell off a cliff by Sunday morning. Headaches, exhaustion, dizziness, the whole 9 yards. So my coach, Rich Sorensen of Velojon, he wisely kept me off the bike for like 5 days. I was chomping to get started again, but he was like, yeah, let's do it day by day. Let me know how you're feeling. And I was off the bike for 5 full days. And I didn't actually start riding again until last Thursday, the 24th. So 2 days before this race that you're watching now. To make matters even more interesting, we in the New York area were basically unable to race the prior weekend. We had a Randall's Island crit scheduled for Saturday the 12th, and then a Lucarelli and Castaldi circuit race in Prospect Park on the 13th. But both of those got canceled because of just, like a brutally cold and windy storm that just blew right through. So for races to get canceled in New York, it takes a lot, and this happened to meet that criteria. So, with all of that background out of the way, just to bring you up to speed as to why you haven't seen any videos from me in the past few weeks, this is my 6th race of the year that you're watching. It should have been 10, given the 2 races we lost to weather and the 1 race I lost last weekend due to being sick. But it is what it is, and I literally have like another 43 or 44 races left on the year, so plenty more will be coming. So just to get in the race footage, we just finished the neutral lap of the crit, and at this point I was really just trying to get a sense of my own body. Coach Sorensen told me to ease into the race and see, what my body tells me, since this, was a very, very different training week than normal, since I was sick all week. And that, I clearly would have lost some fitness on the top end from being sick. But, the races are always unpredictable, and, they had other plans. So first and foremost, as you can see from the arrows on the course map, there was a very, very strong head and crosswind. We're actually going into the tailwind section of the course now. But it was, I want to say it was, I think it was like an average of like 15 miles an hour or something like that, but it was gusting up into like the 20s. And so automatically that was just going to make the race, very unpredictable in terms of how people were riding it, when people would try to attack. There were people that were trying to attack in the tailwind section. There were people that were attacking the headwind section. Other people were attacking the crosswinds. It was just attack all day long. And, I had actually started on the back foot in this race, because I was trying to come up and, again, like I was saying, like get a sense of my body. But on top of that, you can see I'm actually pretty far back, and it wasn't intentional. But as you can see right here, the roadway is just so narrow, it's nigh impossible to make up any wheels whatsoever. And then you have this technical 90-degree turn at the top, and then it's followed again by another 90-degree turn. And then you just blast right out of it. You can see right here I'm doing over 700 watts, and that's not even to make up any distance. That's just to maintain my position and hold a wheel. And you just do that again and again and again. Each lap is like just shy of maybe like 2.5 minutes ish. So it's fairly fast. And so you can actually see right here, you're probably wondering, like, why is he on the inside track when it's a strong crosswind? And part of the reason is because I knew that one of the only places that I would be able to make up room would be in that crosswind section. And now we're, in the headwind section. And, unfortunately, with that particular move, I ended up just, wasting energy because I didn't actually make up any bike lengths in that particular space. So, but you can see right here, like, I was in the 100s, in terms of power. Now I'm in the 200s, 300s, but because I'm still by and large sheltered behind all of these other cyclists, I'm not having to expend that much energy to make contact a little bit. But the biggest concern that I have, and that I had all during the day, was knowing where the tailwind was. I knew that people were going to try and gun it. And so if there's even the slightest bit of separation on a course like Randall's Island, especially if you're this far back, you can very easily lose contact with the field. And once you lose contact in Randall's Island, you can almost kiss your chances goodbye. Just because it's so difficult, and the technical aspects of this course, can be challenging, even for the people that have, really good handling skills. If you could get stuck behind someone who just doesn't exactly know how to take a turn, and then boom, you're hitting brakes and you're done, or you're having to, punch it much harder than you would. So, coming through here, I hated this position that I was in. And, just to give you some background, I had actually raced, this was the first time that I raced Randall's Island since last October. And the last time I raced Randall's Island, I ended up getting 6th place. And let me see. Basically, one of the differences in that particular race versus this one is that I was basically always surfing in that top 5 to 10. I was not, 20 bikes back. And so, this was actually a case of just lining up poorly, and that just set me on the back foot from the get-go. So you can see again here, because I'm being forced to, follow whatever lines are set by the person in front of me, I basically just had to hope and pray. And I just used up so much energy in that particular spot. And I was like, I can't deal with this again. So I decided in this case, this time I'm going to, put in more effort. I'm going to, put in a harder effort. And I followed, this guy in Veselka, I followed his wheel as soon as he started going in, because I was like, I need to get out from behind all those other cyclists. So now I'm liking my position a lot better. I'm sitting top 10. There's enough cyclists behind me that I can now really kind of pay attention a little bit more to where am I going, as opposed to like fighting wheels. The biggest challenge here that I had is that that effort in trying to get through basically tired me out. So this was the first instance where I was like, yeah, I'm not dealing with the normal amount of gas that I usually have in the tank. It's like, yeah, this illness definitely has taken some stuff out. And so I ended up losing wheels, whereas normally I would have just been able to, maintain position. So, coming through here, you can see, my heart rate is still kind of elevated, considering that I had been spending most of my time in like the 200s. My heart rate was like in the low 160s. And so going up into like the low 300s, now it's just creeping up. And, I was kind of looking at this and I was just like, oh boy, it's better than it was, but it's not nearly that good. So now I'm in a situation where I made up a bunch of wheels and now I've lost all of those wheels. And so now I'm having to just put out even more energy. I mean, yes, it is a tailwind section here, which is helping, but still, it's just like all of this when you're talking about trying to conserve energy in a technical crit, these are just, they're killers. They're absolute killers. And now here we're coming up again. Thankfully, this time I'm feeling a little bit better in terms of being able to get through this because I have less wheels that I have to contend with. But still, it's like you're punching up over 600 watts and then you come to a standstill and then boom, now I'm punching up over 700 watts. And you can see I'm still losing ground on the field that's in front of me. But you can see also in the rear cam, everyone is having to do the same thing. They're punching out. So being in that, like, if you're not in that top 10, going into that technical turn, you're just going to get just mauled coming out of it. And there's just no way around it. And so, you had this person right here, his name is Chris. He races with Merrick, and he's the one that just went by. And he did exactly like if you're in a situation where it's just like, okay, I need an easy way to move up, and I have a bullet to spend in the chamber. You can use that, and now boom, he's up there. And so this was kind of just the nature of the beast today. It was about 38 minutes. The entire thing was about 38 minutes of just, knock down, drag out with super strong head and crosswinds. And just by and large, only a fairly small section of tail. So, coming around here, we're in a crosswind and then heading into a tailwind. And you just saw, again, I'm punching it up over 600 watts. Now I'm, just spiking it up, then spiking it back down. And at this point in time, I'm literally just like, okay, this is the game plan that I was hoping for, just is completely out the window. I'm just going to have to go with it and see what my body can give me. And it really, was a good return in the sense of, all right, I'm feeling better than I was at the Mengoni race last week. I definitely feel like I'm on the upswing, but holy crap, this is really hard. So for those of you that remember my comments from the last couple of videos, my power profile is not one that's suited for repeated, super high, punchy efforts, like out of a corner, boom, 700, 800, 900 watts again and again and again, like every 2 minutes for all intents and purposes. And, here I am, 600 watts out of that corner, holding and then spiking back down and then getting it back to the other end. And then boom, another 600 watts is just brutality. Competitive cyclists win. So that was basically the story of the day. And so, my big thing, knowing that, I'm already not feeling well, knowing that, this is only going to be a limited amount of time on the course, and it's not a course that really suits my power profile. Again, I'm more suited for like getting out there and just maintaining threshold and not necessarily having to do repeated punchy efforts in a crit. So I'm like, I've got to figure out some way, shape, or form to try and get out of this insanity. And so what you're seeing right here as we're coming along, things are starting to settle a little bit more. You can see now going through, I'm actually not having to hold that much power, even though I'm maintaining my speed. I just say that now. But you can see when I crossed out into the wind, my power spiked up to like 500, 600 watts. And the reason why I did that is because I needed to see basically how far ahead a brake group had gotten. And this was one of many different brake attempts. You can see them kind of in the distance on the right-hand side. I think it was like a group of 2. And so now everyone, we're about 15 minutes into the race, 16 minutes into the race. Everyone's now in a mad scramble trying to, close this down and get that gap. So I'm doing just basically what I can. I'm not going to spend any additional energy trying to close this down myself. I'm going to let the rest of the field do it for me. But I'm also wary of the fact that, you have to kind of balance it. Like the more wheels you have in front of you, when you hit that technical turn at the top of the course, then that's more opportunities for you to have to, take some speed off of your wheels and then punch it up again. So it's basically just a balancing act. How much can you actually do in terms of, keeping yourself up there versus not wasting as much energy as possible. And it's not an easy thing, that's for sure. And that's why, I constantly say like criteriums are not my forte. I do them for practice. I do them for racecraft. And like I said, the last time I had done Randall's Island, I did get 6th place and I was able to get some points out of it. But that was also in part because I was able to, I had a better start, basically, in that race. I was able to start in the top 10. I wasn't starting, 15 wheels back. So I wasn't on the back foot. So we just did another turn here. You just saw me blasting out, and now I'm having to do, 300 to 500 watts just to maintain contact. With the field. And again, I haven't made up any room. I haven't made up any bikes whatsoever in that stretch. And you can see just behind the field is just strung out all the way back to the finish line. So between the wind and between the punchy pace, it basically just the field got shredded. By the end of the day. So you see right here, I'm actually just looking at the guy in front of me. He's like looking down at his legs. He's looking down at everything. He's like checking everything. And I'm like, okay, this guy's almost done. So I basically just looked at, and he actually asked me if he had, a flat tire. And I mean, it may sound, mean or something to say it, but I was like, no, your tire isn't flat. But in my head, I was just like, no, it's probably your legs. It's not the bike. The bike is like, I'm fine. Your legs are probably just like, yeah, you're done. And to be fair, like, as you can see, like the field was just in shreds at the pace and also having to fight through the wind. So, looking back on this race in retrospect, I'm actually not that particularly downtrodden at how I did. just for the simple fact that coming into this race knowing that I really didn't have that much, because I'd been off the bike for 5 days, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to do what I can do. So I saw these guys coming up, and my tug before was starting to die, so I just latched on here, and I was able to just keep my speed a little bit, but I couldn't make up fast enough on the NYCC rider here. So I just took the best line I could, which is actually probably one of the best lines I could throughout the day. And you can see this time, and this is the value of having a good line, a good clean line. I didn't have to spike it up it was basically like 500 watts. I wasn't having to spike like 700, and then coming around, there's this huge gap. And so instead of having to do, a 700 watt drag, I was able to do 500 watts to come out of that, and that's because I was able to get a clean line, where all of the other times I'm fighting, trying to get through. And so, if I had to say that there's just one trick to Randall's Island, it's really getting through that corner as quickly as possible with as clean a line as possible, because it can literally save you anywhere from 100 to 300 watts per turn. And over the course of a 40 to 50 minute crit, that is absolutely invaluable. So you see right here, actually, the CRCA rider, he's elbowing me through, and you can kind of gauge the field. I just kept the power that I had been holding. And you can see, like, I wasn't trying to actually, get away from the field, and I just gapped them. I actually did not know. I did not know that I was this far ahead until I looked back, like right here. And then you see that, it was right at the turn. Because once I made the turn, that's when I actually started applying power even more. And I just saw, okay, the field is completely strung out, and I'm looking at this guy that was just ahead of me. And I was like, can I bridge this? Do I have enough in my legs to do that? And I was just like, no. It's like, no. Normally for these kinds of efforts, my heart rate would be in the low 160s, and I would have, the extra gear, basically, to basically latch on and bridge over to that. And today I just didn't have it. And so, I just sat, these guys came up and sat on my wheel, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. You are not going to see anything from me. But the one thing that I did know is that, okay, I'm sitting on the front, I'm trying to bring my heart rate down as much as I can, but I'm like, someone's going to counterattack here because we're not going that fast. The field was strung out, and now it's bunched up. It's perfect time to counterattack, and then boom, right here, that's Dan from Lonely Heart Cycling. He counterattacked, and then there was a CRCA, and there's a guy from Army and Veselka, and they were trying to follow. And the thing is, I actually thought that they were going to try and get away, but what I realized was it was actually just trying to get through and get as clean a line as possible, and that was pretty much it. Because once we got out of it, they all sat up. So it was like they were just like, I need to get to that turn first so that I can, take as clean a line as possible, and hope for the best. So one of the mistakes I also saw here is that I actually had a clean line on the inside track, and I should have taken it. And I didn't at the time, and that would have helped shield me from this crosswind that we had coming through. Instead, I just kept my line on the outside. Part of the reason for that is because I know that Dan, like me, is a guy who rides for brakes, 654, and so I'm looking at him and I'm like, okay, if I go or if he goes, I want to try and hook up with him, because I'm just like, okay, he's a guy that is going after brakes. That could be an opportunity. Unfortunately, I got boxed in. right here. As he started moving up, I got boxed in by the Cannondale on the right, and then the guy that was in front of him, 725 or 675, I should say. And so I didn't have a clean line there. But I'm still keeping an eye, on my fellow cyclists. And this is just part of the thing you learn as you're racing. It's like, who does what do they like to do, when do they like to do it, and so on and so forth. So I'm trying to move up here because I'm like, if I'm going to make any successful attempt here, it's got to be with someone that I know has, demonstrated an ability to get into breaks and ride in breaks successfully like I do. So, just coming through, I'm just basically trying to hold on and trying to keep my heart rate under control as much as possible. You see right here, I'm doing like over 500 watts and, I'm still losing wheels. It was just that kind of day. It was just like, yeah, this wasn't the plan. This was not the plan. So we just have a few more minutes left in this race. It was a really short one. As part of the reason why I didn't truncate this one, I had planned on starting to put out more, like 15-minute content, 10-minute content, just based on some of the feedback. But we were in and out of this race so quickly. I was just like, yeah, it probably doesn't make any difference. So again, that was a 500 watt effort, still lower. That was 590 coming out of it again, still lower. But the biggest thing that I was concerned about was you started to see that smallish group up ahead, that was really starting to make a way. And the fear that I had about Dan making a move, boom, he made it right there. And I knew it was coming. And I was just like, I lost his wheel on the prior lap. And the funny thing is, he and I think Ron Malone of Merrick Racing, they bridged up because there had been, remember I was showing you there had been an earlier break of 2. They actually successfully bridged up. And I was so pissed off at myself because I had allowed myself to get boxed in, and I knew that was coming, and I literally just couldn't do anything about it. I got boxed in. Everyone's trying to shelter themselves from the wind, and just a second sooner than I had hoped, and I was gonna keep a clean connection. I just couldn't. And that was it right there. That actually ended up being the winning 4. It was Ron, Dan, and the other 2. I have to look them up, but that was the winning 4. And so in the closing minutes of the race, I'm looking at my Garmin at this point, and I'm like, okay, basically at this point the top 4 spots are gone. So the only thing that I can do at this point is plan for 5th. And so that was really my thought process going in to the rest is, what do I need to do in order to secure 5th place? So, I'm thinking, all right, 5th, this could be something where, I'm only a few points shy of getting my Cat 3 upgrade. And getting 5th place, that would have been good, I think, for like 3 points or something like that. Which obviously would have gotten me that much closer. And then I'm only looking at having to do not like win outright in order to win, but it's like, okay, I could just get another top 5 and then I'm set. I'm done with my upgrade. So I'm just settling in right here. We're coming in through the technical turn. And this was, again, one of the cleanest lines and looks that I got all day. I basically did not have to spike it all that hard just to maintain effort in that first one. Now in the second one, because I saw the group, getting away, I had to spike it up almost to 700 watts. But the biggest thing that I saw here was that, I'm starting to close in on everyone, and everyone's pretty much setting up or sitting up, I should say. So, again, I'm just like, all right, there's only a few minutes left. what can I do here, if anything, to try and get through. And so this time, I allowed myself to kind of just get shielded on the right. I just slowed down a little bit, and you saw someone actually try to bridge across with a hard, punchy attack there. And I'm not actually sure whether or not that got away. I think we were able to bring them back. But again, my whole thing at this point is, okay, all I can do at this point is sit in and try and get through this part of the course with as little energy expenditure as possible. So I'm surfing in, I'm staying, as much as possible, but I didn't want to let this final guy get away. So you saw me spike it up, knowing that we were going to be coming into this tailwind section. So I'm just spiking, and then I spiked again just to make contact, because I'm like, if I want to get 5th place, I cannot let this wheel go. I absolutely cannot let this wheel go. I'm looking back, and I saw that there was, the field behind was, just strung out trying to catch on. And at that point, I just put in another hard effort to go even ahead of the guy that I'd bridged up to. And once I made contact, this is Veselka, CRCA, and this racer here that I'm coming up, he's another one from Merrick. I met him on the day. His name is Chris. He's a cool guy. Coming up, I was just like, okay, the field is looking in really, really bad shape at this point. If there's any point that I, may be able to get away, it's probably going to be now, because I'm not going to have anything at the line. I'm not a sprinter by any stretch of the imagination. So I thought about going here, and I was just like, yeah, no, just wait, try and exercise patience. I looked down at my heart rate, and I'm like, it's still too high. I'm still like, given what I've been doing, I'm still like 10 to 15 BPM higher than I normally would. So I'm like, I'm pegged. So I came through here. I almost got taken out into the pole by the CRCA guy, but I'm looking at their body language, and I switched to here because this is actually where I decided to attack. And the reason why I did here, you see, and I'm just maintaining over 700 watts, is because I saw both Veselka and CRCA looking down at their legs. They were both looking like they were just on their last effort there. And I was just like, if I'm gonna go, this is the time to go. The miscalculation that I made was in the heart rate. And you can see right here, I'm sitting up at 179 BPM. My max is 185. But putting in an effort like this, and I'm already at 180, putting in an effort like this, normally I'd be like 170 right now, 165 to 170. And so when the NYCC guy came around me, his name starts with, I think it's like Erkko. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, but he came and he was like, hey, I'm here, let's go. And he used to see my heart rate. It is completely pegged. Normally, if I had been just completely healthy, I would have had an extra gear to just been able to latch onto him. But I didn't have anywhere to go, and I could not latch onto him. He looked back a couple of times, saw I wasn't there, and he was just like, okay, and he kept going. He did exactly what he needed to do. I just couldn't respond. And so, that was another one where I was just pissed off at myself, because I was just like, if I had been in my normal healthy place, not coming off of an illness, I would have had an extra 10 to 15 BPM in my budget, and I would have been able to close that. And he actually came in 5th place. He got 5th, and it was just one of those situations where I was just like, being able to recognize those moments. As far as my racecraft is concerned, like mentally, I'm able to recognize those moments. But this week, being on the upswing but still coming off from being sick, that top end part of my fitness was just gone. So physically, I couldn't respond to what my mind was telling me. And then in the prior week, it was the same situation in Mengoni, where I saw multiple opportunities, but physically I could not respond because I was actually on the downswing. So, it's just one of those things where from a racing perspective, you just kind of have to, take it as it comes. But it was really aggravating in this race because I saw the opportunity earlier to get in a break and get up into the winning four with Dan and Ron Malone. And I couldn't get there just because physically I wasn't there. And then here, when the NYCC rider came through, I could not respond to that move either. And it was just, again, it was deeply, deeply aggravating. But, the last thing I'll say on that front again is the fact that racing many times is not necessarily about how strong you are. It's about where you are mentally. And so the thing that, I take away from this, and that my coach has really, tried to instill in me is that you can't win every single time, but you can make sure that you're not making mistakes. So, coming around here, this was basically like, I was just done. And like mentally, physically, I was just like, I'm out of bullets. I'm out of gas. I'm already tired. I've been, racing for the last 20 minutes. My heart rate was actually pegged at like 172 BPM, which is extremely abnormal, especially when my average power during that 20-minute stretch, the final 20 minutes of the race, was like 314 watts. Doing 314 watts, like in my normal workouts, it's like my heart rate is like in the upper 150s, low 160s. And I was pegged at over 170, like well over 170. So I'm just basically looking at it from the perspective of, using this to kind of shock my system back into play. You can kind of see here is like the race is speeding up. And at this point, I'm just like, I'm pegged. Mentally, I'm done. I've seen multiple opportunities that I would have been able to take advantage of if I had been healthy, slip away. So, I'm just like, if I'm not that top 6 or so, which in the field of this size is what you need to be in order to get points, it's like if you're 7th or if you're 70th, it just doesn't matter. So at this point, I was just like, well, I'll just roll in, and I don't care at this point. Just to go back, the NYCC racers guy who came around me and kept going that I couldn't latch onto, his name was Erkko. Again, I'm hoping I'm not butchering your name, but if you're watching this, it wasn't on purpose. You just saw actually that was a crash. His name is Andrew, and thankfully he's okay. He had a pedal strike, and actually I had a pedal strike my first time doing Randall's Island last year. Thankfully I didn't go down, but in this case, he did go down, but thankfully he was okay, and his bike was okay. So just coming through. At this point, I was just like, I'm not going to get out of the saddle and put myself even in a deeper hole than I'm already in just to come sprint for 15th or whatever. So I just rolled through, and that's pretty much the end of the day. So today, for all intents and purposes, was just about getting my feet wet again and, just trying to sharpen the knife. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe, leave a comment. There will be many more races to come, and I hope you will stick around for them. So until next week, bye-bye.